Picture this. You're watching Saturday Night Live back in '92, and Sinéad O'Connor, right at the height of her career, just tears up a photo of the Pope on live TV.
Oh, wow.
It's a moment that I think really just defined her for so many people.
Absolutely. It was a moment that just shocked the world and kind of cemented a certain image of her for decades.
But what if I told you there's so much more to her story?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, the Pope photo, it was a huge deal, but in a way it overshadowed everything else about her. You know, her artistry, her activism, her incredible resilience.
So today we are diving deep into the life and legacy of Sinéad O'Connor, going way beyond the headlines to figure out, the woman behind all of it.
And what you'll find is that it's heartbreaking, but it's also incredibly inspiring.
Let's start from the beginning, with her childhood in Ireland.
Okay, so Sinéad O'Connor grew up in Ireland in the 60s and 70s.
Okay.
And it was a deeply Catholic society. So imagine what it was like as a woman to express anger, especially towards the church. Like, that was unheard of.
Right.
And add to that just a very difficult family life, abuse, emotional turmoil.
So music became her escape.
Exactly. Music was like this refuge, a way to channel all of that pain and frustration, into something powerful and beautiful.
She was drawn to artists like Bob Dylan. Right?
Yes, especially his protest music. I think that's where she really saw what music could do, not just expressing your own feelings, but challenging things, making a statement.
And she did that right from the start.
Absolutely. Her debut album, The Lion and the Cobra, you can just hear it,
Yes.
That rawness, that honesty.
But she didn't really fit the mold, did she?
No, not at all. This is the late 80s, when female artists were supposed to be these perfect pop princesses, all about the looks and catchy tunes. And Sinéad just rejected all of that.
Yeah.
She shaved her head. She refused to wear makeup. She was like, take it or leave it.
That's powerful.
It was a huge statement, especially back then, and it really set the stage for all the battles she'd have with the industry. You have to remember she had to fight for her voice her whole life, even as a young girl.
Yeah.
That spirit of defiance that was just part of her, it was in her DNA,
Wow.
And that's just the beginning.
Yeah, incredible. It wasn't just her look, though, right?
Yeah.
She used every platform she had to speak out against injustice.
Exactly. Like at the Grammys in '89 when she won, she used her speech to call out the music industry,
Really?
Yeah, how they cared more about money and fame than actual good music. I mean, winning a Grammy is a huge deal for any artist, especially early in their career. Most people would have just thanked everyone and moved on, but not Sinéad,
Yeah.
She saw it as a chance to make people think a little deeper, question what the industry was all about.
It's incredible. And then there was her support of rap music, which was still pretty marginalized back then.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And she even refused to be on SNL when she found out Andrew Dice Clay was hosting.
Exactly. I mean, this is where you really see how committed she was to her values.
Right.
Even if it meant putting her own career at risk.
Yeah.
Right.
But supporting rap music, she was aligning herself with something that a lot of people saw as dangerous or rebellious, especially in the pop music world, which was very white at the time. And refusing to be on the same stage as Andrew Dice Clay, that was a statement against sexism and misogyny.
Powerful.
Even though it meant losing a big opportunity.
Yeah, and then there was the whole thing with the Irish national anthem.
Oh, yeah, that's one that people get wrong all the time.
What really happened?
But the story that goes around is that she refused to let them play it at one of her concerts.
Okay.
But it's way more complicated than that.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I've read, she was either approached by people claiming to be journalists who were asking about her stance on the anthem, or she was specifically asked about it.
Okay.
And she said she'd rather not have it played, or maybe refused outright. But the whole thing was blown way out of proportion.
Yeah.
It just added to this image of her as a troublemaker, someone who couldn't be controlled.
You have to remember, too, this was a time of a lot of political tension in Ireland. So her actions were seen by some as disrespectful to the country.
It's fascinating how one event, especially when it's taken out of context, can just completely change how people see you.
It really is.
And sadly for her, this was just the beginning.
Yeah.
But of course, the incident that really shocked everyone was the SNL performance in '92.
Oh, yeah.
When she tore up that picture of the Pope.
That's the one everyone remembers.
Right.
But I wonder how many people actually understood what she was doing, the pain and the anger behind it.
Right. This was years before the Catholic Church abuse scandal really came out.
Exactly. She was trying to bring it to light. expose the hypocrisy and the abuse of power.
So she was trying to show people something they weren't ready to see.
Yeah, she was trying to show people the truth about this institution that was so powerful in Irish society.
And she used a photo of the Pope.
Right, and not just any photo, it was her own mother's photo, a symbol of her faith.
So by tearing it up,
Yeah.
she was rejecting something that had hurt her personally, but also something that had caused harm on a much larger scale.
Exactly. She was making this incredibly powerful statement about the betrayal, the silencing of victims, the corruption, in an institution that many people saw as sacred. This wasn't just about religion. This was about power and abuse and speaking truth to that power, even though it was incredibly risky.
Yeah. And instead of people, starting to talk about what she was bringing up, she just became this target.
Yeah, it's classic, shoot the messenger.
Right.
And the backlash was brutal. Like, remember Joe Pesci's so-called joke on SNL the next week?
Oh, gosh.
He threatened to hit her and people were laughing.
This is awful.
And then she was disinvited from the Bob Dylan tribute concert.
Really?
Yeah, and so many other celebrities just turned on her.
It's like the whole world just turned against her.
It really was.
And all this was happening at a time when people weren't really talking about mental health,
Yeah.
or the effects of trauma. How did she even deal with all of that?
I mean, it's impossible to know for sure, but, she had the trauma from her childhood
Right.
and then this constant public scrutiny and criticism. It just had to have taken a toll.
Yeah.
She kept making music, though. Really powerful music, but most people just ignored it after that SNL thing.
Yeah.
And then, she struggled with her mental health and substance abuse.
Right.
And the tabloids just ate it up.
It's so sad to think about everything she went through. And for what?
Yeah.
For trying to tell the truth, for trying to change things.
It's a reminder of what happens to women who speak out, especially when they challenge powerful institutions.
Yeah.
It makes you think how different things might have been if people had just listened,
Right.
if they had tried to understand where she was coming from.
Yeah. But it does feel like things have shifted a bit in
Yeah.
recent years.
Yeah, a little.
When she passed away in 2023,
Oh, yeah.
there was just this outpouring of grief, but also this appreciation for everything she did.
Yeah, it felt like people were finally starting to get her,
Yeah.
on a deeper level.
I think it shows how much has changed since the 90s.
Absolutely.
We're talking more openly about mental health, about abuse, about believing women,
Right.
And when you look at the way Sinéad O'Connor's story takes on a whole new meaning.
It does.
She becomes this symbol of resilience,
Right.
a woman who refused to be silenced,
Yeah.
who fought for what she believed in, no matter the cost.
Powerful.
Her story also reminds us, though, that there's still a lot of work to do,
Yeah.
to make the world more equitable.
Right.
A world where women's voices are heard and survivors are supported.
Absolutely. And that's where we all have to step up,
Yeah.
What are we willing to stand up for, even if it's hard? What voices are we amplifying?
Right.
What changes are we working towards?
That's what Sinéad O'Connor's legacy leaves us with.
It really is.
I think the best way we can honor her is to keep having these difficult conversations,
Yeah.
to keep fighting injustice, to support those who speak truth to power,
I love that.
and of course, to listen to her music,
Yeah.
to really appreciate how amazing she was and remember the woman behind it all.
She was a true original.
Yeah, a force of nature.
Yeah.
Sinéad O'Connor's story is a powerful reminder that one voice can make a difference, even if it takes the world a while to hear it.
So true.
We hope you'll take some time to explore her music and discover the power and beauty of her artistry for yourself.
Awesome. I think that's a great place to end it.
Yeah, thanks for joining me for this deep dive.
It was my pleasure. Thanks for having me.